Hello folks, I'm back with another video, and this time we're going to be talking about, wait for it, here it comes, control. It's a really good one. A lot of times people don't even see it happening. They don't know it's happening. They're blind because they're inside of a relationship, or they're infatuated with this person that they've just started dating, or whatever it is. But it's very difficult to see inside of a relationship. But here's how to spot it. And it's often masked with care. Okay, they're confused. They're confused between care and control. Am I controlling or am I caring? That is the question. Here's how to spot it. Control is where you're making people's decisions for them. Care is when you're giving an opinion or giving information, but then you withdraw and let someone make their decision. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples. These might stand out. Chris and Sam are going out on a night out, and Sam decides that she's going to wear a nice dress. It is a nice dress, but it's quite revealing as well. Okay. Chris doesn't like that. So Chris says, "Are you going out like that?" And Sam says, "Yeah." Not seeing the problem, of course. And Chris says, "Well, don't you think it's a bit much?" And Sam says, "No, I think it's okay. I like the dress, actually." And this is when Chris starts to get a little bit more controlling. Okay, he's now pressing the matter. He'll say, "Well, look, I don't want guys to get the wrong end of the stick. You don't often think about things like this, and I just care about you." So Sam then takes it off, right? She thinks, well, yeah, my bloke's caring for me. I didn't see it the way that he saw it, so I'm going to take the dress off and exchange it in place of jeans, a top, and a denim jacket. That's one example. Let's see what happened there. Let's dissect that a little bit. Now, what happened is Chris, obviously, he had a little bit of an anxiety spike. So this behavior is another one that comes out through anxiety. And he's a little bit jealous, actually. He's jealous of what he thinks will happen. He's jealous of men that may or may not look at her. And he doesn't want to be in that situation. He doesn't want to be in the situation where, this is probably where Chris's fear of abandonment comes out, but maybe Sam might go for someone else. Of course, that's not what's going to happen, but that's what his mind has come up with. You know, fear of abandonment often makes people go to the worst case scenario. And for him, at that moment in time, it was her leaving him for someone else because she looks good and they've paid her a little bit of attention. Now, here's another one. Jordan and Alex are in a partnership, and Jordan wants to spend time with his friends. But Alex says, "I thought you were going to spend some time with me. I thought we were going to spend some time together." And Jordan says, "Well, yeah, but we can do that tomorrow night. Tonight, I'm going to go out with my friends. I told you about this last week." So Alex says, "All right, well, I guess I'll just be on my own tonight then. I'm sure I can find something to do." Boom. There is the control. And it's control through guilt. Alex is hoping that Jordan will change his mind because she's made him feel guilty about going out. Very, very poor behavior, right? But again, it's another one that is spiked through anxiety. She doesn't want to be alone. She's got fear of being alone. So by Jordan going and spending time with his friends, she's going to jump to that worst case scenario again. She's going to think that he's going to love spending time with his friends more than he does with her. So he's going to leave her. And that's why Alex tries to control Jordan in that hypothetical situation. Both situations, right, and almost all situations with control, it's always through anxiety. It's because the person's getting a little bit scared. But it doesn't need to be like that, right? This is about emotional regulation now and how we control our emotions. When those emotions start to get to the top and we can feel those emotions, those anxieties spiking, our blood pressure's going, our pulse is rising, all of that stuff, it's time to calm down and it's time to get a grip. But lots of people, they're externalizers, right? So they're going to need some kind of external product or substance to calm them down, or they're going to need to get angry at someone, because that's venting, you know, that's getting it out, that's getting the rage, that's getting all those emotions out. And what we need to do is learn to internalize a lot more. We need to sit with that uncomfortable feeling that we have, and we need to go through things logically. You know, okay, so Jill's put on a dress. Does that mean that she's going to go with someone else? Well, no, because we've been together for the last 6 years and she hasn't cheated on me or anything. So, you know, break it down logically. And, you know, don't let yourself get ruled by emotions, because how it looks for the other person, the person that's actually being controlled, right, over time, it chips away at their self-confidence. It chips away at their ability to make decisions. And you can see people that might have been controlled, maybe not by their partners, they might have been controlled by their parents. They can't make decisions. They need someone else's affirmation before they go ahead with a decision. You see, a lot of the times with anxious, controlling people, which is where they get anxious and they start to control things around them, people around them, where they are, who they're with, stuff like this, right? They're just anxious and they start to control things. A lot of the time, the reason is because it stems back to childhood. You know, they were in a family system where it was just chaotic. There was no control. So they need that control to feel safe. They need to start controlling their environment, the people that they're with, the places that they go to, and they need that to feel safe. So if you're with an anxious, controlling person, maybe find out a little bit more about their childhood. Find out if, you know, what it was like. Did they have a lot of control at home? Because then they might have learned that control is safe. Or did they have a lack of control at home? Do they now need control to feel safe? Either way, a good way to handle people that are this way by anxiety is to soothe them and say, well, look, let's take Jordan and Alex example. Look, I really like spending time with you, but I also need that time with my mates just to decompress and, you know, just do mate stuff. And I'd encourage you to go out with your mates as well. No problem. You can go out with them whenever you like, because I'm always going to be here. So reassure people, and then it, you know, makes them feel a little bit more comfortable. Just remember that a lot of these behaviors, a lot of these bad behaviors, they stem from anxiety. And if we can control the anxiety, then we might be able to get a handle on the emotion, which may lead to better outcomes in our relationships. And for the controlling people, you know, if you've watched this video and you identify with what I'm saying, then, you know, just try and break things down logically. Try and sit with that uncomfortable feeling. You don't need to speak as soon as you have that anxious thought. Try and sit with it for a little bit. And finally, if you're with someone that is super controlling, you know, they're nitpicking everything, they're commenting on everything, they're controlling who you see, they're controlling what foods you eat, all stuff like this, right? If you're with that type of person, then you might need to start setting some serious boundaries. Unless, you know, if we're talking about serious situations where people become violent, well, then it's time to leave those people, because they don't respect you and they don't respect the relationship. But if someone's, you know, if someone can be worked on, if they've just got a bit of an anxious, controlling personality or attachment style, then that may be able to be worked with just with some boundaries.